Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Happy Hump Day. Hope everyone is doing well. We are in the second week of this second quarter of 2021. Sorry about that, guys. It's early in the morning here, and it looks like I'm a bit tired. Anywho, sorry about that. I promise you I'm going to give you some really cool content today, and you guys are going to be blown away by some of the stuff I got for you. And this episode has come because of a conversation I had last week with a client of mine. What a potential client. Let me phrase that. And I don't want to say his niche because I don't have the, I didn't get the permission, but, he basically, we talked and I said, he wanted to do some Facebook ads. And I told him, I said, listen, I think for your kind of business, you really need to do some Google ads. I think you would fare a lot better with Google ads. I mean, I would gladly help you with some Facebook ads, obviously, because we do that as well. But I really feel that you would get more bang for your buck using Google AdWords. And he had some fears, and he said he told me, hey, last time I did Google AdWords, I almost lost my shirt. I don't think Google AdWords are for small businesses. Hence the reason I titled this episode, Are Google AdWords Worth It for Small Businesses? And the answer is a resounding heck yes. Now, I want to give you some insight into the conversation that I had with him. Because it really made me think. I'm like, okay, maybe this is a great episode because if he's thinking this way, others are thinking this way as well. And we don't want you guys to think erroneously about Google AdWords. Google AdWords is a phenomenal way. Small businesses, medium businesses, large businesses, doesn't matter. It's just a strategy that you use based on where you are in the marketplace. That's it. But it's a very, very powerful way of doing it. And I shared with him, I said, listen, I did my business. I basically did my business 100% on Google. It was all Google AdWords. And, that's how I got my start. And he said to me, well, Frank, when was that? And I said, that was back in 2007. He goes, well, that's what I'm saying. It's lots have changed and, it's just not the same anymore. And I have to agree with him on that. It has changed, but it actually has changed for the better. And I'm going to prove it to you in this episode that it's changed for the better. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get to that, if you want to be a guest on my show, you have a product that you want to promote, you want to talk about, or there's something, maybe you open up a new store, or there's something that you're promoting or what have you, give us a call at 888-416-7752 or send us an email at info@lbmsllc.com. We'll put you on the schedule and we'll make it happen. Okay. So that's all I have to say before we hop into today's topic, which is all about, are Google AdWords worth it for small businesses? Okay. So Google AdWords to me are phenomenal. They are, for those of you, I mean, anyone who's on my show knows what Google AdWords was. This is basically the first four entries when you enter a search, and have the small little rectangle next to the actual website that says ad. Then those are the Google AdWords. Okay. Sometimes it also shows up on maps as well, because you can also do Google AdWords on your maps if you want to start ranking there. So that's what that is. In case you didn't know, almost every one of my listeners knows that, but I figured I'd say that. But I want to give you, just to start, 6 powerful reasons why you should use Google AdWords for small businesses. Okay? And I'm just going to give you 6, and I'll probably give you some other insights. But I think after I give you this information, you'll see that it's worth it. Okay? First of all, let's talk about budget. So let's talk there, because that was the biggest fear for my potential client. He was, I think he lost his shirt. I think the last time he did Google AdWords was probably 3 years ago. There are 2 things that was wrong with what he did. A, he tried to do it himself, and he quit after like 4 or 5 months. B, he didn't know what he was doing. So I think he said he lost somewhere in the vicinity of like I think he's something like $8,000 or something like that. So, it is what it is. It's a hard lesson to learn. I said, you should have hired someone to do it for you because they know what they're doing. But, he learned it. And so he's hiring them now. Anyway, so the point is, if you don't know what you're doing, you can lose money. You could either hire a consultant to walk you through it, or hire a company like us to actually do it for you. It's all up to you. But either way, this isn't something that, in my opinion, unless you're looking to do it yourself anyway, and this is something that you're going to do, and you have the time to monitor it and track it and all that kind of stuff, then of course you could do it yourself. But I would recommend against it, because that's not your business, so to speak. Anyway, so let me go back to the 6 things why you should use Google AdWords for small businesses. Number 1, you could reach people when they're looking for you. And here was my main reason for him, to deter him from using Facebook ads. I have nothing against Facebook ads. I know people are probably going to listen to this episode and they're going to say, well, Frank, Facebook ads are great and this and that. And yes, they are. But I am a huge advocate of having someone find me when they're looking, not stumbling upon it and go, oh, this sounds kind of cool. I'm just a huge advocate of it. I think it kicks butt. I think it's the way, we should go when it comes to lead generation. That's just my opinion. And, a lot of people say, and so the argument he had was, well, Google is a lot more expensive. I know this because I tried playing around with it, and it's cost me, like I said, $8,000. And I've played around with Facebook, and it's not cost me as much. Now, it wasn't an apples to apples comparison. Either way, he wasn't getting the results that he wanted, but he spent less money, but it's because he did different things. But anyway, I'm digressing a little bit. Let me get back to the subject at hand, which is why you want to do it for small businesses. Number one, you want to reach people when they're looking for you. When people are looking for you, they're looking for a specific topic, So if you target the right keywords for your ads, you can get in front of the potential customers at the exact moment that they're looking for your service or your product, whatever you are, whatever business you are. So let's just assume that you want to buy some glasses online, right? So you type in a word, say, buy glasses online. So you should have, you're going to have several options up top. Like I said, the first 4 are ads. For products, though, the beauty of the product, because Google has an e-commerce based type of service where you can actually list the products up top in a carousel type of environment, and that's pretty cool. And it'll show you the topics that you have. So when you have this, it's great. I mean, you're getting them when they're looking for it, and that's the powerful thing about it. And and you could be right there when the person is looking for it. Nothing could be better than that. Number 2, you can target based on geography. One would argue that yes, Frank, you can do this on Google, you can do this on Facebook as well. Yes, that's true. You can put zip codes on Facebook as well. But I don't know. I'm kind of a guy. I'm a Google guy. I base my business on Google, so that's why I like this better. Because if you run a local business, which most of my audience do, you don't care about appearing in search results outside of your area, really. And this is how we can really niche down our cost, because I'm pretty sure my potential customer, reason why he spent so much is because he probably missed a few steps in the geography section. I'm pretty sure of that, because $8,000 sounds like a lot for his niche. So the beauty of it is that Google Ads, it's gonna let you target your searches based on the geography. Which is, again, it's only going to see, you can go down as small as your zip code if you want to. I wouldn't recommend it. I would do a county, but you can go down to the zip code. Okay, so I like to do, my preference is when someone is going to go down so niche to the geography, you want to combine your Google AdWords efforts with your local SEO efforts. We do that all the time for our customers, and we totally kick butt when we do it. The reason being is because you're getting more bang for your buck. Google actually is going to reward you for doing SEO and PPC ads and this and that. And it's a wonderful thing, really wonderful thing. That's the best strategy I would say you could do if you want to do any kind of target based on geography. Okay. Number 3, you want to target multiple audiences that use the same product. This is an interesting strategy that I've done. I've been doing this for years, and I very rarely share this with people. So, but anyway, I figured for this to be of value to you, this is very important for you to understand. So take notes. If you sell, say, a product or any service that can appeal to multiple different audiences, Google AdWords can help you reach those audiences by letting you target different keywords. So, for example, let's say you sell, filter papers. Let's just say, I'm just throwing out stuff that's obscure, things that I normally don't talk about. That's what I'm trying to throw out here. So let's say that you sell filter papers that say can be used in both laboratory research and industrial manufacturing. If you could create a product page and try to actually optimize it for the search, you might have to choose between your two audiences, or choose more general term like carbon activated filter paper or something like that. Now, here's where it gets a little confusing, and I probably lost like 90% of you guys with that. So let me go back a little bit the way Google AdWords has changed over the last 6 years. So now that you can build audiences in Google AdWords, so they figured out a way, just like Facebook, where you could build audiences, and based on your audience, you could actually categorize. That's the right word. Categorize your audiences based on where you want them to find you. Very similar to how Facebook does it, but this is done more on a search platform. So, in my opinion, it's actually more powerful. Excuse me, guys. As I said, my opinion only. So, going back to the example, and number 3, where it said, target multiple audiences for the same product. If like I said, the person who's looking for filtered papers and the person looking for, say, carbon activated filter papers, they're looking for this. They're different. They're going to be in different categories when you start categorizing your audiences. So those of you who have played around enough with Google AdWords, I'm not sure how many of you have, you know what I'm talking about, where you can say, okay, where most likely are my audience are. Where is my audience mostly? Where are they playing? Are they news watchers? Or are they home and garden people? Are they, whatever. So the more you know about your client, your ideal client, the more you can position your ads to go and put them in front of them. So that's why it's different. They're gonna, based on those keywords that we type, that I'm giving you, but the filter papers, one's carbon, one doesn't have the carbon, they're gonna end up in different audiences. That's all I was trying to say with that. So I just want to give you a little bit of elaboration as to what I meant with that, especially if you have not played around with Google AdWords in the past 5-6 years. Anywho, moving right along. Number 4, we want to send people. You can actually send people to specific landing pages. Okay, I love this, because when someone clicks on an ad, they get sent to a page on your website, typically. And the biggest mistake that people do when you're running paid ads is they send them to the home page. Big mistake. One of the strengths of the ads is that you can actually choose the page that you send them to. I always choose a specific landing page that speaks the language of the people who I'm targeting. Okay. So the beauty about that is, let's say I have a site that's called 123.com. Doesn't say anything of what I sell. With 123.com, I can have like 20 landing pages selling 20 different products or services, and people want to know who I am. But anyway, that's a crazy example, but that's what I'm giving you, the power of setting up landing pages, especially if you're going to do any kind of paid advertising. You never, ever, ever want to send someone, when you're doing paid advertising, to a home page. I can do a whole episode on that, and maybe I will. as to why you don't want to do that. Anyway, so number 5, you want to track results easily. You can track results easily. Excuse me. With ads, you can track click-through rate and ad spend and conversion rate on each landing page. You could easily do A/B tests for different ad copy and different landing pages. And then you can so the reason why you want to do that is because you want to maximize your ROI, obviously. One reason that the ads are such an attractive marketing tactic is the ability to track ROI. I was telling that to my potential customer, the one who I'm basically dedicating this episode to. And it's, I mean, he was saying, yeah, but you could do that same with Facebook too. Yeah, but not like this, because this one you can say, which are the keywords that are converting the best, at what time. It's just easier. It's more data. I don't know. I think we're comparing apples to oranges there. Anyway, number 6, you want to get quick results. That's why you want to do it if you're a small business. You get quick results. Here's what I always tell people. And I'll give you an example. Before I tell you what I tell people, I'm going to tell you a story. I had a client of mine who, he was back in Baltimore, Maryland. He was a very prominent home improvement person. They did mostly kitchen remodeling, basement remodeling, bathroom remodeling. So mostly interior construction. He wanted to get into the exterior construction world, primarily the deck creation. So he wanted to do decks. And of course, if those of you who know about the Northeast or Mid-Atlantic, we can basically only enjoy our decks for 4 or 5 months, maybe 6 months out of the year. And the only time you can do it is from the spring on through the fall, basically, is when you can do the decks. So we ran some tests for him. And the best way, because he wanted to know if this was going to make sense for him. And, what we said was, okay, let's run some Google some ads for you. And we ran some ads. We created specific landing pages talking solely about the decks. And then, boom, he became an instant, success with that as well. So that's, we got quick results with that. That's the point of me saying this, because we got the actual results that we want. If it bombed, he would have known quickly, oh, this is not going to work for him. But, it didn't bomb. So that's the point. Now, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier in the episode when we talked about budgets, because he was very concerned about budget, because of, like I said, he lost his shirt the last time he did it. So, I recommend, if you're a small business, you have to be in a range, you have to be willing to spend on a monthly basis anywhere between $1,000 to $10,000 per month for a small business. Now, anytime you go above the $10,000, now you're talking about a larger business. But if you're anywhere between the $1,000 to $10,000 a month, you're in a good area, a good sweet spot. The average cost per click for, say, a search ad on the Google world is anywhere between $1 to $2. So, say $1,000 ad budget and Google Ads budget typically is going to get you about 500 to 1,000 clicks. So that's pretty significant. So that's what I'm telling you, and especially if we're running local traffic. Okay, so this is what I'm telling people. This is not expensive at all. Okay, Google Ads are generally not worth it if you can't spend at least $1,000 per month. And this is what I told him, because he wanted to test the waters with 500 and see what happens. I said, no. Generally, the general rule of thumb, if you're not willing to test it for at least 1,000, then let's not even go there. Let's talk about some unconventional uses of Google AdWords. In addition to the standard benefits of PPC ads, there's a couple of untraditional or non-traditional, uses that are pretty worthwhile mentioning since I'm talking about Google AdWords on this episode. So I'm not an advocate of this practice. I don't do this often. I know some of my competitors that do it, but I do this based on how traffic is going for my client. And what I'm talking about is targeting competitors with your ads. In other words, try to siphon traffic from your competitors. It's a decent way of doing it, but if you're at the low end of that budget range I gave you, if you're at the 1,000, even if you're up to just 35 to 4,000, you probably want to steer away from this strategy, because when someone types a competitor keyword specifically looking for that business, and they find yours, they clicked on it, and let's say you call them or whatever, and they say, I'm sorry, I clicked on the wrong ad. I typed this and you guys came up. That's why I put in my information. You just wasted money. And we're not in the business of wasting money. Now, again, when the higher your budget is, the more lucrative this can come. And if you have people answering the phones for you, maybe, tracking emails that come through the ads, okay, maybe you can do this. And also you have to have that combination of maybe a $5,000 budget or more, and you have someone else doing it, because you can siphon some traffic. But if that person was really looking for a competitor and they were just kind of curious about finding you and they say, okay, let's see what they do, you could be eating up at your budget really quickly there and not getting anything in return. So I typically do not like the targeting competitors with ads strategy. But again, it depends on how aggressive we want to go with the ads. So that's why I wanted to at least mention it. Another one that's worthwhile mentioning is testing headlines and messaging for other marketing. So here's what I mean by that. So let's say you want to now market on Facebook. You started out with AdWords, and now you want to market on Facebook. You want to test different headlines and messaging that could now work on that other platform. I don't want to go too deep into that. That's a little bit high tech. That's a little bit advanced for most of my listeners, but it's a very powerful way of doing it, and that's the way we transition. So either transition or add on. So many customers hire us for multiple services. So we'll have a Google AdWords campaign for them. We'll have a Facebook ad campaign. We'll have a LinkedIn ads campaign. We have SEO. We have social media. We build a website. So multiple things. When all of these things come together and we're doing all these things for them, it's in their advantage, because we're now helping them with a multiple of products and services that's now helping them skyrocket. And that's where a strategy like this, again, I don't want to go too deep because it's a little bit advanced and I'm going to confuse you guys. I don't want to do that. Now, there's some things before I move on, before I close this episode here. There are some things that you you want to consider before you use ads for you guys, the small businesses. Okay. If you're doing it yourself, okay, Google Ads has a learning curve. You got to understand that. A lot of times people running ads think that, oh, I can just plug and play, because they make it seem like, oh, wow, yeah, this is really simple because we've got this machine learning and we've got this AI, we've got this, we've got that. It does a learning curve, and it's a steep learning curve. So that's one thing that you have to consider. Number two, you want to understand your value proposition, and you want to use them. For those of you who've gotten my book, and those of you who haven't, my heart goes out to you. But for those of you who gotten my book, the first thing I talk about is your USP. That's very, 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 very important, okay? Especially when you're going to do paid advertising using a platform like PPC to do it, because understanding who you're talking to is paramount, because that's how you're going to write your ads. That's how you're going to write your landing page, etc., etc., etc. Makes things a world of difference for your results. Okay. Another thing I want to talk to you about is keyword selection. Keyword selection is critical. Okay. Understanding who you're talking to, understanding who you're targeting is going to help you with this. AdWords has a great keyword selection tool. It's called a keyword planner, I believe. I particularly don't use it. I use different tools, but I use some huge advanced tools. I use a thing called Keywords Anywhere. Word Track. I use a plethora of different tools, but the keyword planner AdWords is just as good if you want to start toying around with that. So those are the advanced things that I wanted to talk to you about. Those are very important things that you want to consider if you're a small business and you want to start using AdWords. And I got to tell you, it's a beautiful thing. So going back to the original question, are ads worth it for small businesses? Okay. PPC ads, excuse me. PPC ads can be an effective tool for small businesses. The only issue that you have to do, and the only thing that I really beg you to do, okay, if you're out there and you want to toy around this with yourself, is you have to have patience, especially if you're toying around with it yourself. If you don't want to toy around with it yourself and you want to hire someone to do it for you, that's even better. That's what I would recommend. Get cut right through that learning curve and you just start rocking and rolling. So that's all I have for you today. That ends. I'm a bid farewell to this episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Until next week, folks, this has been Frank Deming, the local business guy. Take care and bye for now. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.